Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm your man Jason Myles. Thank you for stopping by. Just going to kind of move right through this today. This week, we're going to talk about contractors. A lot of people are having crazy issues with contractors. It's not new. It's something that's been going on for a long time. You've got good contractors, you've got bad contractors, you've got contractors that overwork themselves, do just all kind of different crazy stuff. And in the end, you're the one holding the bag, trying to figure out what you're going to do, how you're going to be able to make it happen. It is what it is, right? So what we've done to try to minimize those problems with the contractors that we've used in the past, and we still use this with our existing contractors, is we put in a 4-step process. And I'm going to go through that 4-step process, things that are contractor necessities. Contractor must-haves. You must have these things from these contractors before you go to work with them. Okay? So let's take a quick break. Be right at you. Okay, we're back. Thank you for watching the intro. I hope you enjoy that. I love it. I want to do a little housekeeping. I call it housekeeping. If you have not subscribed, please click the link below, do that. Like the video, share the video, comment on the video. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you'd like to hear more about. I'm here to share real estate and business development topics with you. It's what we do. It's just what we do. I want to make sure that you have a better experience starting out than I had when I started out. So if you're watching this, again, please like, subscribe, share, comment, engage with me. Let me know what you'd like to hear more about. So let's get to it. These contractor must-haves, right? When you meet a contractor and you have this project that you want them to look at. Now you can have them look at it, but you're going to want them to gather some information for you. You want them to put a package together for you so that you can do your due diligence as well. Now, one of the very first things you have to make sure that they have, if you're going to do a big deal with them, I'm not talking about handyman, right? I'm talking about someone that's going to come in and do a $50,000, $60,000, $100,000, $120,000 renovation for you, because it can really cost you an enormous amount of money if you do not focus on them being good at what they do. Okay, you can't just do it because it sounds good. You've got to check everything out, and even then it's not perfect. But the first thing you want to check that they have, number one, license and bond. Are they licensed in the state in which you're doing your business in? Are they licensed in the state that they're in that you're doing business in? And do they have a bond? How does that protect you? Well, contractors have to go through a lot to get their license, a lot. It's not like it was 10, 15, 20 years ago when anybody could just say, I want to get a license, and they go out and they get a license, and that's that. It's not that way anymore. You know, they have to pass background checks in a lot of cases. They have to have gone through a class. They have to make sure that they have X number of dollars, even whether it's liquid or in credit. It just has to be available to them. But they have to have these things in place. And jumping through all those hoops, most people don't want to screw that up. They just don't want to screw it up. So you want to make sure that they have these first and foremost. Okay? Now, the second thing that you want to make sure that they have is references. Okay? Number two. So you want to make sure that you get the references from them. The references are important because if they can't give you the references, they're hiding something or they haven't been in business long. But you absolutely have to get a reference sheet. It doesn't matter if it's just 2 or 3 or 4, you know, the more the merrier, right? And you want to call those people up and ask them about their experience with this contractor. You want to get that reference sheet. And if this contractor is good, they don't always have a package ready for you. But if they're good and they stand behind their work, they're going to be able to just kind of jot that stuff down and shoot you an email and get that over to you right away. right? Because they don't always have this full, complete package ready for people, as they should, because they're always looking for business. But that's another question. So you want to make sure that you're getting those references. If you're not getting the references, move on to the next. Okay? Now, let's move on to number 3. Go look at the work the contractor's done. Go look at the work. You've got the references. Call the people up. Say, hey, can I go by the house? Is it rented? Is it sold? And go look at the work. Even if it's rented or sold, drive by. You're going to get a lot of good information from the references. If you call up someone and they're like, yeah, so-and-so contractor did the work for me on 123 Main Street. I loved them. The property sold, the pictures are on the internet, or we got it rented, whatever the case. I was really, really happy with their work. I work with them still to this point. You know, I'm going to keep working with them until I stop or they stop. You know, that is a glowing reference. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, that's a glowing reference. It's not always going to be that way, but you got to go look at the work. Look at the kind of work they do. Because you could go look at a house and see all kind of flaws, all kind of shortcuts that they did that you would not necessarily approve of. You could see, you know, shoddy work. You could see, I like to call it half-ass work, you know, where they started to do a thing, didn't really come out the way they wanted it to, or maybe they ran out of funds and they just slapped some stuff together. We had a contractor working for us who had done all this stuff, but he mismanaged the money. And instead of fixing a floor that we needed to have fixed, rebuilt, raised with vapor barrier on the bottom because it was over a crawl space, instead of doing that, you know, he tried to do what we call sistering the joist. He tried to, which is even more work than just tearing it out, by the way. So he tried to put lumber next to existing lumber and kind of push it up. And of course we caught it. You know, he ran out of money, and through our inspection, we saw that the vapor barrier wasn't there, which prompted us to go under and look at it. I mean, you could feel the floor wasn't the way it needed to be. Something was wrong, but long story short, it was on him to fix the problem before we went on to the next phase. He never did. We simply cut our losses because at that point they weren't that expensive because it was just that particular area that needed to be reframed. So we had some demo work, some more lumber that needed to be paid, and some labor that needed to be taken care of. But it was just that one thing as opposed to allowing him to continue to move on, fix up everything around it, and then we have to tear everything around it down to fix that problem. Okay? It's part of the next thing that we're going into. So after you've checked for the license and bond, you've gotten their references, you know what these people are looking at, you've made appointments to go by or drive by and look at the work that this contractor has done. Now, you're going to ask the contractor about this, and this is extremely important. Number 4. What kind of processes do they have in place, paperwork-wise? You know, do they have an agenda on how they do their big jobs or any job? How do they approach it? You know, they come in, they do their line item budget sheet, and then they break it down into sections. Is there a checklist? What is it that they provide internally for themselves as it relates to their processes that is going to help you see how they do business? That's going to help them conduct their business in a much, much easier way. Take it from me, a lot of people don't have these processes. Most of the contractors that I work with do not have these processes, but we have made these processes available to them. We have been doing this for 20 years now. And over those 20 years, we have had contractors that were great. We've had some that were not so great. We've had some that were great and then they turned horrible. We've had some that were horrible and then they turned good. Just all kind of different things. But having those processes in place, checklists, things that you expect depending on how you're going to sell or rent that property, things that you expect to have done, things that your local city and county inspectors are going to require them to have, those kinds of things that they need to be on the checklist. If they're not on the checklist, Add them to the checklist. Help them out with their processes. If you find one that has all 4 of these in place, that's great. I'm not saying there are no contractors out there that have these. There are big time contractors that are a little bit more expensive than you might want to pay. So you're going to have to find the right contractors for you that has at least those 3 things, because you can help them out with the processes. And if you need help with this part, just contact me. We have all of those things, just forms and contracts, things like that we like to use when we're working with contractors to avoid going too far into a project with a contractor that is simply not doing the job that they need to do and doing it, correctly. You do not have to just keep throwing money at a deal if this person says they're short on money and there's an additional contractor and there's additional expenses, which happens. They run into stuff. Go look at it. Make sure it's a thing that really needs to be taken care of and you're not being taken advantage of. If they're following those processes, it'll come up. It'll come up. Another thing that you can do is, I know a lot of times you don't have a bunch of time to go and get an inspection done, but if you can get an inspector to go out and look at a property before you buy it, hey, it's worth the $300 or $400 because they're going to nitpick everything, right? You might be buying a shack, you have to spend, $90,000, $100,000 to renovate it. You got to do it, but you still want to get that inspector out there because who's going to look at the foundation if you don't know what to look for, right? Who's going to look at the roof if you don't know what to look for? Or maybe you think the roof, because we have wholesalers that will pick up a property and they'll put a roof on it because it adds to the allure of the property, right? But it may not have been done correctly. We bought a house and the roof was done absolutely horribly. I mean, it was 1/2-inch plywood up there, and where we are, we need 3/4-inch plywood. So, look, I can give you horror story after horror story, right? I've been in this long enough. But in order to avoid the vast majority of these 4 things, these are contractor must-haves: license and bond, references, go look at the work, go look at it, physically look at it, and processes. And again, if you need help with those processes, just reach out to me. I'll just give you the paperwork that we have. You can use what we have or modify it for your particular need. Again, if you haven't already liked and subscribed to this channel, please do, right here. My name is Jason Myles, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Peace.